This is the Strat-O-Matic Baseball Excel 1970-73 Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Trawler YouTube channel.
Well, welcome back, baseball fans, to the 1970-73 Carryover League. We are back in the National League tonight in the National League North with a series between the Reds and Cardinals. Very important series, particularly for the St. Louis Cardinals, because they're not supposed to be... They're in that lull. You know, they 67 and 68 was great, and then of course you had to wait all the way to 1982 for Ozzie Smith to help the Cardinals get a World Series championship. So that whole decade of the 70s was a pretty dry spell. And so in this narrative, we have to figure out a way of making the Cardinals relevant. And guess what, folks? The series started with the two teams tied for first. The Cardinals did it by winning every series by the slimmest margins, a single game. Also, Bob Gibson is actually having a fantastic year, which is great news for the Cardinals. So let's see what has happened thus far in a series that opened up in Cincinnati. Game 1, Rick Wise for the Cardinals against Ross Grimsley for the Reds, and oh boy, the Cardinals clearly are not ready for what's going on. They have played an easy schedule to this point. They've played the Florida Marlins, the San Diego Padres, and the Yankees in interleague battle. They have to play now 3 consecutive series against their own division, the Reds, Pirates, and Cubs, for the All-Star break. And in the first inning, Bobby Tolan a triple, a Pete Rose walk, a sac fly, a 2-run homer by Bench, a solo homer by Lee May. In the third inning, a solo homer by Perez. In the fifth inning, homers by Bobby Tolan, and yes, Pete Rose. That would make the top 5 hitters in the lineup, which is technically known as the Big Red Machine, more so than the bottom half, at least for this era anyway. It turns out to be a 9-1 blowout, and you're thinking, okay, Cardinals have a nice record, but they're clearly not in the class of the Cincinnati Reds. Or are they? Let's go to game number 2. And this one is a brutal game. A final score, I'll give you the score first. The Reds win this one 5-4. And oh my goodness, the Cardinals, you just have to take advantage of key plays and key moments if you want to leapfrog the Reds. They get out to a 3-0 lead in the first inning, beating up on Don Gullett. But the Reds get single runs off of Bob Gibson in the second and third and fourth, which, you know, that's okay for Bob. I mean, it's the Reds are the Reds. That's what they do. And then he tightened up after that. And the Cardinals tied the game in the ninth. In the seventh, 4-4. Then in the ninth, Wayne Granger's brought in a 4-4 game as Gullett's run out of gas. Gives up 3 singles. They have to go station to station. They're all single dot singles. You couldn't advance anyway. And then loop rockets into an infield up double play. A 6-2-3 double play. Unbelievable. Bottom part of the inning, an error by Julian Javier and an RBI single by Johnny Bench. And just like that, the Reds are up 2-0. But you could see the Cardinals making progress, feeling that they should be competing here, and game 1 was an aberration, that yada yada. So what happens in game 3 in St. Louis? Well, they do get a win, do the Cardinals. Danny Combs, number 3 starter, acquired in the offseason from Oakland involved in the Ken Holtzman deal, beats up Dick Bosman, who's really struggled since he was acquired by the Reds, to shore up the number 2 spot in the rotation. He has just been mediocre, and that's not what a World Series team wants out of the number 2 starter. It's a 7-4 win for the Cardinals. Got a homer out of Joe Torre in this game. He's having a great series. Torre has 3 hits in this one. He's having a great year. Has the most 366 hitters. Probably do have great years. The first inning, the Cardinals actually benefited 3 unearned runs on a 2-base error off Concepcion, which is very odd. So the Cardinals finally got breaks, and they turned it into a victory. Can they follow it up with another one in Game 4? Game number 4. This is the one that, again, the Cardinals could not get a W. It's Gary Nolan and Rick Wise on short rest. Both pitchers exceptional. Reds get a sac fly in the 3rd inning. Cardinals manufacture a single on a ground ball and a single, an RBI single from second. It stays 1-1 in the 7th inning. Dave Concepcion, who's got power both ways. It's a solo shot. It's 2-1. Gary Nolan, the bullpen lights go on, but Gary Nolan says, "Don't worry about it. I got this." Showing that 1.99 ERA of 1972 that helped him and the Cincinnati Reds get to the World Series. 2 singles in the 8th was the only blemish in the late innings there, and the Cardinals lose another tough one, 2-1. Which is a real shame because the Cardinals, they need all the breaks they can get. They're not getting them. They're down 3-1, and they are desperate today in a Game 5 in St. Louis. Game 5 of the series. The Reds will send Don Gullett on short rest, and what a matchup. He'll be pitching against Wayne Simpson. That's right, folks. Wayne Simpson from the Cincinnati Reds, his 1970 card. He was 14-3, and then he got injured and was unable to play in the World Series against the Orioles. And who knows what would have happened had Wayne Simpson stayed healthy for the Reds, not just in that World Series against the Orioles, but through the early part of the 1970s. It's a real tragedy that Wayne never came back from that injury. But he is St. Louis's property today, and his mission is to keep his Cardinals alive. Great drama here. Cincinnati at St. Louis, Game 5 from Busch Memorial Stadium. Let's get started. Bobby Tolan of the Bells leads off. 2-9 is a base hit. Double-A stealer, but Simmons has been given a -3 arm in his 2nd year. Something must have happened with Simmons. He had a tremendous throwing out base runners early as a young catcher, and then he must have hurt the arm because for the rest of the 1970s he was very mediocre. But at least early on, Simmons could throw the ball as a catcher. So Tolan will hold. It's Pete Rose. 1-5. Let's take a look at Pete Rose's card. We had a choice in this offseason, folks. Do we want to go with this Pete Rose card of 1970, or do we want the 1973 version where he's the most valuable player of the National League? We picked this card because he's got more homers, more triples, more doubles, better defense, and more walks. The only thing he doesn't have as many singles. So anyway, 1-5 for Pete Rose, homer 1-12 double. He misses the homer. It's going to be a double in the center. Tolan's a 17 runner. He'll take on the +1 of Adolfo Phillips, and he'll score. And the Reds get a quick lead. Tony Perez, 47 is a K. Johnny Bench, 1-5 is a double. Automatic on his card. That'll score another run. Lee May, 310 is a walk. Well, 4/5 of the Big Red Machine gets on. Now, this is where you got to bear down and get through the bottom half. These guys aren't nearly as good. Bernie Carbo, 2 7's a K, and with 2 on and 2 outs, it's Concepcion. 47's a K. So the Reds get a couple, and we go to the bottom of the first. Adolfo Phillips, 2-5, grounds a third. Lou Brock rolls to the pitcher. Julian Javier, 68, is a single 1-10. Gets it. And your tie run with 2 outs is Joe Torre. Let's take a look at Joe. His 1971 brilliant year, all-star third baseman. Don't worry about the shin guards, Joe. We're playing first base. We're going to just leave you at third base all year and have a magical season hitting .366. The pitch to Joe, 57, is a K, unfortunately, for the Cardinals. Top of 2, Jim Stewart, utility player, playing left field, 55, rolls to second. Tommy Helms, 57's a K. And Bobby Tolan, 55, rolls to second base. It'll be Bill Sidakis, 1-5 is a walk. Jose Ortiz, 68, 1-10 off gullet, and he misses it, rolling in 11. Ted Simmons, 2-6, A6, 4-3, double play. He had two double plays in Game 4. Not a good look for the young catcher. Top of the third. And here is Pete Rose again, 2-5, a single. Tony Perez, 6-11, a walk. That's not what you want to do. Johnny Bench, 1-8. Let's take a look at the bench card. He missed it, actually. 1-8's a strikeout, but you saw that. My goodness, folks. How can you give him an automatic double on 1-5? That's a lot of doubles in addition to everything else. 35 doubles for a catcher who theoretically, wouldn't play every day because he's a catcher, But yeah. Plus you can play center field with a -1 arm, just in case that situation were to come up. A strikeout here, though. So it'll be Lime now with 2 on and 1 out. 1/8's a K. And Carbo, 57 is a K. Simpson battles back. Jim Beauchamp, bottom of third. He skies it into left field. This is Jim Stewart, a 3-9 in left field. And that is going to fall in for a double. Mike Tyson, 2-2 is a foul to the catcher. Adolfo Phillips, 2-8 is a K, and with 2 outs. Lou Brock, 68 is a bouncer to second. This is Helms, a 1E10. This Red team has fantastic defense, and probably, I'm going to project this, aside from Joe Morgan not playing second, it doesn't matter. Morgan be a 1E6 or 1E16, but Tommy Helms is a 1E10 with his 1971 card. So the Red defense is at the height of its powers if you take away Tony Perez playing third base. Don't worry about that. They have a late inning defensive replacement we might see today. 2-0. We'll go to the fourth. It's Concepcion. 3-6, bounce to short. Jimmy Stewart, 48, double 1-6 is a base hit. C. Steeler. Do we try a hit and run with Helms just to switch things up a bit? We're going to do it. Be hit and running. Tommy Helms will hit and run, and he moves the runner up. Runner at second for Bobby Tolan of the Bells. 2-10. Let's take a look at Bob Tolan's card. It's just not fair, folks. I mean, it's just not fair. I mean, this guy is probably batting third or fourth on most teams in baseball. And, of course, he leads off for the Reds. But it's really overkill. My goodness. What an incredible year. 316, 34 doubles, 16 home runs, 6 triples, double-A stealer. Probably the best leadoff hitter in all of baseball, one of the better hitters in all of baseball. Was in the All-Star game last year for the Reds. Here's a single dot, and the Reds lead 3-0. Do you want to try a stolen base off of the much ballyhooed Simmons arm? I think we're going to try it, just for fun. And he rolls a 17, and so much for that. Well, that didn't work, but we had house money. We were up 3-0. Bottom of the fourth, the Reds with a 3-0 lead and 18 outs away from winning this series 4-1 and really blowing a hole in the St. Louis Cardinals parachute for the 2022 season. That's for sure, folks. Julian Javier leads off. 5-10, catcher's card. Johnny Bench, what's he, a 1E? Trying to get an error off him. You're not going to do it. 1E7. Almost an error, but if he was an E10, that would have been an error. He's an E70. It is not. Joe Torre, 35 is a base hit. Bill Sidakis, 110's a base hit, and the tie run is Jose Ortiz. Let's take a look at this guy. He was a Cub. in 1971. The Cubs had a bunch of guys who played very well in utility roles in the outfield, and they were able to trade Cleo James to the Twins and trade this guy, Jose Ortiz, to the Cardinals. He ended up getting Jose Cardinals, which was a nice get for the Cubs. But you can see Ortiz here with a bunch of doubles, and he could play every day if he needed to. So here's the pitch to Jose Ortiz. 49 off Gullets, a pop to first, and with 2 outs, a big at-bat for Simba. Ted Simmons, let's take a look at his card. This is the 1971 Ted Simmons. His first year hitting 300, 304. He would do this many times throughout the decade with just 7 home runs. He would do that many times throughout the decade as well. Not a lot of power from him. The pitch to Simmons, 46 off of Gullet, is a fly to left. Again, the Cardinals are not taking advantage against the Reds when they desperately need to. We'll go to the 5th. It's Pete Rose. 59, pops to second. Tony Perez, 1-8. Let's take a look at Tony Perez's card. It's just so much fun, folks. It's just so much fun to look at these cards of the Cincinnati Reds. And, you know, it's World Series or bust, folks. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The assembly of power and on base that this team does in this era. 1-8, triple 1-5 is a single. We might bring in that third baseman now, just because we're up 3-1, and we will. So Vukovic, the one defensive third baseman, will run for Tony Perez here. And now the Reds have 1s and 2s everywhere except Lee May at 3 at first, which is pretty amazing how great the Red defense is. Johnny Bench, 3-11's a walk. Simpson's in trouble. He needs to get the right-hander Lee May out, as he's good against righties, not so much against lefties. And if he were to get on, we may very well think of going to the bullpen. 2 on, 1 out, Lee May. 3-5 is a walk off the Lee May card. Oh my goodness, folks. What do you do here if you're the Cardinals? You're down 3, bases loaded, 1 out. Simpson's good again getting righties out, but you got Carbo, a lefty, who walks a ton. You have a unique opportunity to get Carbo out of the game. You already have Perez out of the game. I think they're going to do it. They're going to quick hook Wayne Simpson in the 5th inning after 4 1/3. Early hook. But remember, folks, what the Cardinals are playing for here. This is kind of their season. I mean, granted, they were in first place, but, you know, it's going to start to look like they were a fake first place team. Not you know, hadn't played much competition. So, with 1 out in the 5th, they're going to bring the infield up and bring Steve Barber, acquired from Baltimore in the offseason, a nice lefty. And Carbo will leave the game. No big deal for these Reds. And Ted Savage will come in. Let's take a look at Ted Savage, acquired from Milwaukee in the offseason to be the designated hitter, replacing Mike Fiore. I mean, giving the Reds a designated hitter, first of all, seems unfair. This should be the one team that the pitchers have to bat for. It's just not fair that they can, you know, keep an extra bat in this lineup. So Ted Savage will bat for Bernie Carbo with a bases loaded, 1 out. They're going to bring the infield up because they're down 3. They can get a 1-2-3, 4-2-3 double play, or 6-2-3 double play if needed. The pitch to Ted Savage. 1-9 is a K, and with 2 outs. Big at bat here. It's Concepcion. They might actually go to a righty here because they don't care about Jimmy Stewart and these other guys. And yeah, a bunch of righties are coming in anyway. They're going to do it. They're going to take Barber out. Love the aggressive managing here. Now it's just a question of Ted Abernathy or Chuck Taylor. We're going to go Chuck Taylor as it's way early in this game. Let's take a look at Chuck. Long guy. Cardinals have an outstanding pitching staff, and they got to rely on it here. Chuck Taylor in the 5th to face Dave Concepcion with the bases loaded and 2 outs, playing back now. The pitch to Dave Concepcion. 38 is a ground ball to short, and the Reds are stopped. Big play there. It worked out perfectly for the Cardinals, and they're still alive. 3-0 in the bottom of the 5th. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right. Gullet has given up 4 hits in 4 frames. They haven't hurt him yet. Jim Beauchamp leads it off. 68. Single 1 to 10. This is the 3rd time this has been rolled, and he missed it. I think Javier made it, and the next 2 times it was missed. Mike Tyson. 34. Flies to left. And Adolfo Phillips. 2-11's a hit by the pitch for the Bee Stealer. Lou Brock. 1-3. Skies to center field. Cardinals, they need some magic here. We'll go to the 6th. Chuck Taylor's relief 3. He'll stay in. Jim Stewart. 38 is a base hit. Tommy Helms will do that hit and run thing again. Moves runner up again. This runner scored last time on a Bobby Tolan single. Let's see what happens this time. The pitch to Bobby Tolan. 1-7's a K. And with 2 outs, it's Pete Rose. 47 is a single knocked out off the Chuck Taylor card. Terrible break for the Cardinals. And now it's 4-zip. They could have walked him. The pitch to Vukovic, too. And here we are pitching to John Vukovic now after it's too late. 5-10's a catcher's card. And of course, he's a 3E15 catcher, and he makes the play. Probably should have potentially walked Rose there, but unfortunately they didn't, and it's 4-0. Bottom of the 6th. Don Gullet is cruising here. Julian Javier, 2-8, grounds a 3rd. Joe Torre, 47, skies a center. Bill Sadakis, 1-4. Let's take a look at Sadakis. He was a Dodger in 1970 with this card. They picked him up as a free agent many years ago and held on to him because they notoriously have not had a lot of power. And Sadakis will bring it in a utility role. 1-4 is a solo shot here. We got a 4-1 game. Jose Ortiz, 65 off Gullet is a double. And here's Ted Simmons, runner at second, 2 outs. 47's the sky to center field. We'll go to the 7th inning. And yeah, Taylor will continue. It's Johnny Bench. 35 is a K. Lee May, 53, first C. And with 2 outs, it's Ted Savage. 4-4 pops to first base. Nice inning for Chuck Taylor. Stretch time here in St. Louis. We are enjoying the Meters 69 LP. Sissy Strut, Sophisticated Sissy, and all that wonderful stuff. From the Meters. As we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, it'll be Jim Beauchamp leading it off. 1-8 is a K. Gullet's a starter, 7. Mike Tyson, 2-6, grounds are short, and with 2 outs. Adolfo Phillips, 2-12 is a Lomax. Gullet is the story today, as he was kind of shaky his last outing, and he's finally pitching well. Really, looking at this Gary Nolan's been the best pitcher thus far. Grimsley's been good too. Gullet's been so-so, and Boston's been kind of yucky. The bullpen's been fantastic. But when regular season, it's fine. It's putting the pedal to the metal in the postseason, in the playoffs, where this pitching staff's got to kick it up a notch. We'll go to the 8th inning. The Reds have Concepcion, Stewart, and Helms. Taylor will pitch to Concepcion, who's good against righties. 67 is a sky to center. He will leave now after going 2 2/3. 5 outs to get, but Stewart's left-handed. And in an elimination game, you know what, folks? They're going to go straight to Al Roboski here. They need him to keep this game within 3 runs. So Al Roboski will come on in the 8th inning with 1 out, nobody on base. Jim Stewart will leave. And we'll see Ken Suarez batting as a pinch hitter. Ken Suarez, 2-4, grounds are short. Tommy Helms, 3-10, is a grounder to third. Grabowski does fine. Gullett, 3-run lead, 6 outs to go. Clay Carroll, Jim Strickland, Wayne Granger all warming if needed. Lou Brock leads off in the 8th. 3-6, ball 4. Being held on by the -4 arm. Might as well be a -5 or -10 arm. Brock will not challenge, down 3. Julian Javier. 111, skies to right. Joe Torre. 57 is a K. And with 2 outs, it's Bill Sadakis who homered right back in the 6th inning. Needs a 1, 2, 3, or 4. 59 off a Gullett is short X. Here's Concepcion. They bumped him up to a 2 in the offseason, particularly for this exact reason. Late in the game, great defense by the Reds. He would have been a 3.48 a year ago. So they would have finished these games, not have to rely on the bullpen or the offense. 4-1 game into the 9th. Grabowski against Bobby Tolan. 1-7's a K. Pete Rose, 110, base hit. John Vukovic, 54, third X. This is Torre, a 320 at third. It's a ground ball C. And with 2 outs and a base open, you could walk Johnny Bench and pitch to Lee May. Yeah, I guess we'll do it. We'll walk Bench. So we walked the guy who had 45 home runs, so we can pitch to the guy with 38 of them. So yeah, here we go. 2 on, 2 outs, Lee May. 1-9 is a grounder to short. So it does work, and it stays just 4-1. But Don Gullett has been the story. This is the first time he's lasted into the 9th. His best performance of the year, at the best moment of the year for the Reds. Chance to get rid of one of their division rivals. It'll be Jose Ortiz leading off in the 9th. 45 off Gullett, grounds the 2nd. Ted Simmons. 2-10 is a grounder back to the mound, and with 2 outs, it's Jim Beauchamp. The pitch to Jim. 45 is a roller to second base. Don Gullett has finally stepped up, and now, folks, Gullett and Nolan have arrived with outstanding pitching performances. The 2 best pitching performances of the series. Bob Gibson would have been the pitcher in Game 6 if the Cardinals won, but they could not get to Gibson for his 2nd appearance in the series. Really bad string of events for the Cardinals here. And you have to imagine this offense of theirs just not up to the Reds. They just don't match up enough. And this kind of played out predictably how the 1970s played out. The Cardinals just do not have enough. Of course, they weren't in the same division in the 70s, so that doesn't help the Cardinals much. Helps the Dodgers, though, not having to deal with the Reds in the regular season. Gullett gets the win. 6 hits, 1 run on the solo homer by Sadakis, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, complete game. Grabowski comes in. He was fantastic, of course. A hit, an intentional walk, and a K. Let's see, Barber got his guy out in the 5th inning. And then Chuck Taylor gave up 2 hits, a run, and 3 Ks. Wayne Simpson pulled early as he walked a lot of guys, put a lot of guys on base, put 7 men on, gave up 3 runs. But it was a desperation move. It actually did work, but it didn't matter because the Cardinals had no offense. 1009, 0109, 41016. 511, 34, 34, 511. Now the Cardinals are not buried. We're not going to throw any dirt on these guys, but they are back to 500. They're back to square one, and they only got to figure out a way of rallying the troops and trying to get into the wild card hunt with slim division title hopes. You know, because the Pirates are in this division. Cubs are having a bad year, so it's really Reds and Pirates. We'll look at the records and stats of the 2 squads and the standings, actually. Cardinals are now 9-9, hitting .258 with a .333 ERA. Bob Gibson's 3-2, but he's pitched much better than the record indicates. He's got 4 complete games, 8 earned runs in 43 innings, 6 unearned runs, but the ERA is a stunning 1.67. Rick Wise is 0-4. That hurts. Grabowski's got 4 saves and has not given up a run. Joe Torre, he's having a... No, it's Sadakis. Where's Torre here at? Torre's 22 for 70. Doing okay there. Hit number 300. Now the Reds are 13-7. Hitting .285 with a kind of unsightly .485 ERA. They have been involved in some blowouts. The good news is they've already played the Pirates, so they don't have to worry about dealing with that offense again. They played the Giants and they played the Mets, so they played the hard part of their schedule before the All-Star break. So they have an interleague series against the Red Sox and the Cubs on the schedule. Interleague series against the Red Sox. That'll be fun. Clay Carroll's got 5 saves, hasn't given up a run for the 2nd year in a row in the regular season. Gullett's 3-1. Gary Nolan's 2-3, but he had a big win in the series. 8 homer and 21 RBI for Mr. Tony Perez. Johnny Bench, 30 for 84 with 6 homer and 22 RBI. We have played 280 games thus far. The league is hitting .262 with a .389 ERA. Congratulations to the Cincinnati Reds, just continuing their regular season domination for the 3rd year in a row. Have been the #1 seed the last 2 years and are going for it again this year. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.